Hate is exploding in the US. Because of it, a lot of people are experiencing fear, anger, vulnerability, and isolation. Are you feeling that way? Levels of hate from both the right and the left were already at high levels before the terrorist attack in Israel and the ensuing war caused by that attack. But since the start of the war, there's been a massive wave of hate crimes, including violence. And not just here in the US, but across the world. Stress is magnified by situations in which we feel we have no control. So how can you take control of your loved one's safety at this precarious time? In this video, you'll learn some basic steps that you can take right now to increase the safety of your loved ones and yourself. Hi, I'm Mike Corwin, and for over 10 years, I've taught individuals, businesses, nonprofit organizations, and government agencies how to keep safe from violence. If you're looking for some immediate steps you can take to increase your safety, I've got something just for you. It's my free situational awareness guide. Situational awareness allows you to avoid a threat to your safety without having to engage with that threat. To download it and get started using the most important personal safety component, just click on the link in the description below. The most immediate response to the uptake in expressions of hate has been to call on institutions such as colleges and universities, the government, and the police to do more to protect those who are at risk from the hate. And that's as it should be. I really hope that succeeds. End of story. But what is your plan B if such efforts fail? The golem isn't coming. And if our history tells us anything, it's that relying on others to keep ourselves safe doesn't work. So here's what you can do starting right now to prepare for the possibility that the hate and violence spirals out of control. Implement situational awareness. The very best way to stay safe is to avoid a threat to your safety before it becomes violent. To do so means listening to your instincts and your senses to assess the environment around you and the people within it. If you see people congregating in a location and they're shouting hostile slogans, go around them instead of walking into their hate fest. The earlier that you recognize they pose a threat, the better your ability to develop a plan that allows you to avoid their physical threat to you. As you use your situational awareness to avoid threats, also use your situational awareness to develop an exit strategy should the group spot you and head towards you. Scan the area around you for routes that you can take to safety, and also look for alternate routes in case they see you and try to close off your route to safety. You can even double back if they close all of your paths forward. To do that, I like to describe to myself the environment around me, the people, where they're located, vehicles, lighting, and then practice doing that until it becomes automatic. What about standing up for yourself and against their hate? That's great, but be smart about it. Remember, you are just one person, so if you decide to confront them, make sure you have a skill set that allows you to do so safely. More on that later. Safety in numbers. Bullies in crowds look for perceived vulnerability or an easy target. And often that vulnerability comes from being the one confronted by the many. We've all seen the videos of them doing so, targeting, encircling, and confronting one person by himself. So moving about in groups reduces that risk. It makes getting to your destination easier and without problems. As the old adage says, there's safety in numbers. Could being in a group increase the risk of a confrontation? Maybe, maybe not. While two groups of people with opposing views can shout at each other, it usually remains a standoff rather than becoming a brawl. Just watch out. Use your situational awareness and keep an eye out for someone in the other group who's trying to push things in the direction of violence. Be prepared for that. De-escalation skills. The current level of hate is driven in large part by emotions, and emotions are not always rational. So how can you help take an emotional situation down a notch? Through learning to implement de-escalation skills. De-escalation is essentially getting an aggressive person out of his current headspace. Sometimes that involves reflective listening, paraphrasing back something the person says, and maybe getting to a deeper emotional level. Something like this. It sounds like you're angry because of blank, and then repeat what was said. Doing so then forces him to listen to you, and if he is listening, he's not attacking. He'll then respond verbally again. That's de-escalation. Sometimes the very best response is no response. Just be silent. Let him continue to fill the void he's created. Why silence? Because nature abhors a vacuum. He'll continue talking or shouting, which is fine because a person who is talking and shouting is less likely to be able to physically launch an attack. Words hurt, true, but fists can kill. Keep him talking his way out of attacking you. So what do you do if all the above fails and an attack happens? Two things. First, you need to change the dynamics of the attack by taking away the attacker's advantage. Second, you need to effectively stop the attack so that you can exit safely. Changing the dynamics. Launching an attack usually involves an element of surprise. It can be a cheap shot. It can come while one person distracts you so that another person can take a free shot at you. But attackers almost always have a plan, and interrupting that plan is your best chance to survive the attack unharmed. Changing the dynamics of an attack means surviving that initial attack and putting the attacker on the defensive. It can be as simple as blocking the attack, followed by an immediate counterstrike that, even if it doesn't land, forces the attacker to have to respond to your actions. Most strikes can be blocked with a simple palm pass. It looks like you're swatting a fly. Just remember, it's not force against force, but simply redirecting the strike so that it doesn't hit you. A miss by an inch is still a miss. Powerful strikes like the old haymaker roundhouse become ineffective if you can jam the attacker by being in close to him, and you can use your forearms raised up to stop the strike from landing. In forcing him to have to respond to you, you force him into a new game plan. And in that time that it takes for him to recalibrate, that gives you the ability to go into full defense mode. Self-defense. Self-defense is literally about creating the opportunity to exit safely, but it requires stopping the current attack to a point where you can leave. Running away is not the coward's way. It's a critical component of self-defense, but before you can run, you have to stop the attack sufficiently to create that opening to get out of there. Never, ever, ever back up when you are attacked. If you back up, you stay in their striking range, you risk tripping, and sooner or later, you're going to back into something solid which will restrict your movement. So it's almost like adding another attacker. Safety comes from moving in closer, jamming the attacker. In doing so, you take away his force and his power by restricting the distance his strike can travel. In close, you can use your elbows and your knees. You could strike as if you were swinging a hammer too. We call this a hammer strike, and it works beautifully when you are in close, just as an elbow strike does and a knee strike. These are very natural movements, and they are very easy to practice and master. But the key here is don't stop at one strike. You have to keep striking until the opportunity to get out of there occurs. If the attacker tries to take you to the ground, don't let him get on top of you. If that happens, you are in an extreme disadvantage. It's literally like having a second attacker pinning you in place. Do what it takes to prevent that from happening. But if you do go to the ground, get right back up. If you can do that, you take away his advantage. and you may even be able to get away at that point. If somehow the attacker goes to the ground by stumbling or from your defensive actions, get out, scram. Don't stick around or try to keep him down. Just go. I hope these tips can help you and your loved ones navigate these dangerous times safely. To get some immediate steps you can take today to increase your safety, download my free situational awareness guide so that you can avoid a threat to your safety without having to engage with that threat. Just click on the link in the description below, download it, and get started right now.